All right, we're here with Bradicus, a legend in the game, man. He's been around a long time, and he's on the call.
Well,
How are
I've
you
been
doing?
around for 6 years.
6 years. That's actually a pretty good amount of time, I'd say. What got you into the community? That's a good place to start.
So I started pickup before I even knew what pickup was. So maybe like when I had no idea about game and I was mostly like, unattractive to women in so many ways. Um, I mean, I was just a strange guy. So I tried like, cold approaching girls at school and shit without even knowing it was a thing. On the train, I would sit next to a girl, but like I didn't know what I was doing. So I'd just like be like, I'd literally like think about stuff so much. And when I'd do it, I couldn't even like bring up the words to say what I wanted to say. Um,
Being inside your
and
own head.
yeah, and when I got drunk, I talked to some girls, but I think everyone's done that before. They've just been drunk and just kind of like stumbled into some girls. But then like my sister showed me this channel. Well, it was just a prank channel about like, I don't know, like he would talk to a lot of girls, but he'd also talk to guys and he would just like, make them feel awkward. But the thing is, I thought that just made me realize that you could actually like, fuck around with people and talk to people. So I was like, you can actually like go near strangers and do stuff. So it wasn't actually pickup. It was just like the fact you could actually just interact with someone in a weird way. And people would sometimes react okay or like be freaked out. But the fact that it was possible was mind blowing to me. Even though I'd done it in the past, I still think it was possible because when I did it, it never worked. And I just lower my social value or my value of myself. I just feel like I'm more of a loser. But that was, I didn't know any other way that I could meet people. So like maybe like once every few months, I'd like somehow like convince myself to talk to someone. But I didn't know what it was. So obviously everything I was doing was wrong. So when I found this channel, it was related to this channel called Vitali. And then from him, he did a collaboration with Simple Pickup. And then I found Simple Pickup, which a lot of guys got into pickup through him, through them. And they still aren't that like, that good as a resource for pickup. However, they truly allowed me to get some real basic stuff down. I did some things from them. And what they allowed me to do is just try to go out and just meet people a lot. So after that, I started really like, trying to meet 10 people a day or whatever. And even if I was doing it in a really weird way, I pushed myself more than I ever done, which allowed me to learn a lot of things. And then eventually some guy invited me to some pickup forum, which I found more pickup guys from RSD and stuff. And then from that forum, I met this mentor who's actually he was a really good mentor. And he helped me like learn a lot of things that I wasn't aware of, like was really bad at listening. So I'd like go and talk to someone and not listen to what they had to say and trying to act upon them. And he made me aware of that. He made me aware that I need to be empathetic and shit, which I was not doing at all. I was just talking at people. And that like slowly helped. I mean, it was a long journey from there, but that was just kind of the start.
Well, the thing about that's such a good kind of inflection point because the transition from beginner to intermediate and intermediate to advanced both begin with kinds of empathy. They begin with self-awareness, first of all. And then once you start getting self-awareness, you start to understand the women better. And then once you understand the women better, now you're almost playing chess in the interaction.
It's like that hierarchy of needs thing. When you start getting some abundance in your life, getting a little bit of sex, getting a little bit of like happiness, you're able to reflect and have self-awareness because you have those hierarchy of needs more fulfilled. So you're able to develop yourself better, I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I always say in this channel, getting to the point where you can get laid consistently and have your sexual needs met is the start of your journey into what you're going to be as a man, what type of life you're going to live, what type of relationships you're going to have. There's a big part of self-anxiety that gets eliminated when you understand why you're attractive and that women find you attractive. And that just becomes a part of meeting your needs now, like being hungry and having emotional connection, making friends. And sleeping with women is as natural as feeding yourself now because you understand what's going on. But to get there, there's so many social myths that have to be dispelled, and there's so many mind-blowing epiphanies that can happen along the way because we are tragically uninformed about the mating dance that goes on in real life. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think most people are definitely really uninformed about like the possibilities that are out there and like the way they can meet women. I think people are tricked into thinking like acceptable ways of meeting people and ways you can express yourself and what is actually how you should actually go about it. Like a lot of people have no idea that like I mean, first of all, you can even do this sales. You can even do this stuff, and actually, like being expressive, being free, being fun, and all that kind of stuff. It's amazing, and it's the best way to communicate. It's the best way to express yourself, and like a lot of people just like don't understand it, so they like at base value they palm it off as creepy without even knowing what it is, or palm it off as like weird or sociopathic or whatever people say about it. I don't know, but like lots of misinformed opinions about this kind of stuff. Like just the other day on some of my YouTube videos, man, I focus on day games, so obviously I don't try to go and get drunk girls, and I say to my students, don't go for the drunk girls, because you're not going to learn from that experience. You're going to learn from the experience when you actually get to know someone and have a meaningful time with that person, rather than pulling a drunk girl that doesn't remember what happened, or you don't remember what happened. You can't reflect upon that. So I actually talk about this to my students, and then I have like people that don't anything pick up coming on, this guy is like just trying to pick up drunk girls, he's taking advantage of girls, he should be in jail. And I'm like, if you guys knew anything about what I did, I actually teach guys not to do that. So what you're accusing me of is exactly the opposite of what I teach, which kind of blows my mind how they can be so misinformed,
It doesn't blow my mind because people operate from an emotional reality and then make up facts to fit that reality. Like we have a believing brain. We don't have a truth brain. You look at people, even people who are really smart and educated, we all have tremendous biases, and the average person has an emotional reaction to what you're doing. They resent it. They don't understand it. It seems like they've thought of one way in which it could be hostile, and they just assume, okay, it's a hostile thing. It's an act of aggression or whatever. People think it's a perpetuation of the patriarchal roles and bullshit like that. Like there's crazy stuff going on. In reality, the biggest myth is that game is bad for women. It's good for the man who's doing it. He comes to love himself and appreciate himself, and he knows how to treat women better.
It's better because if men become like stronger, more emotionally developed people, women end up being more happy and fulfilled around them. Now, I'm not saying like me putting a girl on my YouTube channel or whatever is going to make her happy. Okay, that's just a side effect of proof and stuff. So I get that, because I understand why people don't like that part, and I understand that. I completely understand that. But there's a greater cause here, right? It's like for like
Awareness.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're more aware of who you're talking to. You're more accepting of them. You can understand them on a deeper level. You can just be more appreciative. You can contribute to them. You can allow them to be more appreciative and expressive. And when you do this, you become more of a sophisticated person. You learn more. Like it's just, you bring more value to the table in so many different ways.
It's crazy how many women think they know who they are until they meet a man who unlocks parts of themselves they never knew. And then all of a sudden she's different than she ever was. But most guys never get her to that point because they don't have the sophistication and the self-awareness. That all comes naturally from learning this type of game, basically. And that's good game. You brought something that was really interesting earlier. You talked about people kind of having closed minds and judgments and just not having a lot of knowledge. And it reminds me of this analogy I say all the time in the channel, where it's like people are sitting inside a cell where the door's open, but they choose to stay in prison, with their beliefs.
Yeah, I completely agree with it. It's like when someone knows they should do something, they knows they should leave the house, go to a club, but they don't because, it's a comfort zone thing. It's like a habit of not doing anything, negative self-beliefs, childhood trauma, just a bunch of random bullshit, right? That actually, I think a lot of these things, a lot of it's just like self-fulfilling. Like if you let it affect you, it will affect you more and more.
Do you consider yourself now at a level that you feel like you're good enough? And I'm not saying good enough. Never mind. That's a bad way of saying it. Do you still see plenty of room to improve? Yeah, I know.
No, of course, I got room to improve. 100%, man. Like the girl I went on a date with today, model, fucking YouTuber, but we didn't get along. And I wasn't annoyed about it. I wasn't like, I need to get this girl. I kind of actually left it because I was like, this isn't the kind of girl I want. Even though in most people's ideas, it's like, I need to get this girl. She's so hot. She's everything I want in a girl. But her energy was just fucked. So there's just something wrong with her energy. And I mean, if I was to improve, maybe that's a reflection of me not allowing her to have a better energy around me. So I could totally improve, but I think I'm able to bring out the best in people a lot of the time. Sometimes it doesn't always work out like that. So I'm not too stubborn in my beliefs to think that I have no room for improvement. Like,
And the
I'm,
reason that I asked that was because you look at the top guys in this community, and that's a common mindset. We all are very confident and believe in ourselves a lot. But at the same time, if you don't see ways that you can get better, if you're not learning from your friends, if you're not still breaking down situations occasionally, if you're not still looking for insight into yourself, you know, you're plateauing, and you're basically running the risk of doing this for ego validation and not for actual self-improvement.
unfortunately, this happens to a lot of guys. So they'll get into this, they'll reach a kind of good level of success, and then they hit that and have like a following, and people that suck their dick, basically, for lack of a better term, sounds kind of, you know, a bit, you know, too much, maybe a little bit. But and then after they have that, they have like this, you know, an ego attached with this level of success. And sometimes to get better, you need to first dip down a bit to go back up, or to like smash things, some things that are like you kind of have to like play with things that are pretty good to make them better, which can mean like pushing them a little bit down sometimes. And when you have that like fundamental level of success that everyone sees you as, to go a little bit lower is like a big hit to the ego and to a lot of people. And they just, it clashes with their identity of where they're at. I mean, I've seen this so many times of different guys that get into pickup. When they hit some kind of level of success, they can't get any more success because they attach their ego to the first success they get, or to the real big success they get first, which could be even bigger one later. And they pretty much just set up camp at that level of success. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Women should love me because I'm high value, I'm honest, I'm fun, I'm not sexually selfish is a great mindset. I'm a pimp, I'm the shit, I crush it. These ideas don't really signify anything. They're just noise. They don't say anything about your interactions with the woman, with yourself emotionally, and yet they require a lot of fuel to maintain. So even though they do very little work as a belief, people have to constantly feed them to keep believing them. They need to constantly be successful to keep believing those things. And when they slip a little bit, they don't want to take risks to slip, like you said, because they would lose that fuel for those ideas, even though believing those ideas do almost nothing for them. Whereas believing that you're attractive because you're trustworthy, because you're honest, because you're confident, because you're fun, these ideas actually help you to guide and have unconscious motivators towards good interactions.
And, you know, pushing yourself and doing new things you haven't done before is like when we talk about the comfort zone, you're finding new avenues and ways to express yourself and do things you haven't done before, which gives you more freedom of expression in the long run, and more avenues to just do different things differently. And that's like the way you find out new ideas. That's the way things are, you know, in any area in life. Like that's kind of like research in a way, you know what I mean?
That's the beauty of being a person and growing. And instead of being locked into an identity, you know what I love it. I love your perspective and your philosophy. I didn't know that we were going to agree on this stuff, but when we did the call, but I'm glad that we do, man.
I've talked to a lot of people, man. And like, it's, I mean, I've heard ideas from so many different places. So like, I feel like when I actually do talk to someone and they get to know me, it's a lot easier to get along with me. Because when you see me at, because when I'm putting stuff on Facebook and stuff, I don't like, I'm not really Facebook content driven. I'm more YouTube content driven. But a lot of the stuff is like, I don't know, like I do a lot of infield, right? So I'm not talking about my internal philosophy when I'm doing the infield. You're just seeing me doing shit.
Right. And a lot of people will mistake that as the journey, right?
Videos, by the way? Sorry, I interrupted you. Have you seen any of my videos?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
And a lot of people, and by the way, people should check them out. I mean, obviously, I think they're good. And I was talking to Lodi about you actually, and that's what made me want to do the call with you, because
Lodi's a good guy.
Highly of you.
Yeah, he's I don't know how long he's been doing this for, but he gets some exceptional results considering his height and his ethnicity. I mean, I know that's not a big problem as much people think it is, but the reason why it is a big problem is because people make it a big problem, right? Guys are in an unfortunate situation. Even if it's not unfortunate, make it more unfortunate than it is to complain about it and to make it a problem by like going up to the girl and just thinking she won't like you because of something. And it's more likely she won't like you because of that, because you don't really think you have value to give the other person if you go in thinking like that. Lodi doesn't really have that as much. And he's an example to,
right.
A lot of
He's
guys.
a short Filipino man with an accent, and he's crushing it.
Well, actually, he has an Aussie accent, so he
Right.
doesn't have a Filipino accent, I don't think.
He has it's an interesting mix sometimes.
Mm.
But yeah, it is mostly Aussie, I think. But all right. So going back to your journey though, like, where did you did you have a easy time interacting with women when you were a kid, and then as a teenager it got kind of sideways, or was it always something
Uh,
that?
I feel like I was such a loser in primary school. Girls bullied me. Normally, guys bully you, but I got bullied by girls too. Um, yeah, dude, I remember this time in school where I was like such a pussy. I was like looking down all the time, and since I was looking down, I bumped into this girl, and like I didn't know, I just didn't know what was going on, and then like she was so angry that I bumped into her. She got her dad to hit me.
Holy shit.
So,
And
like
to go
I
from
didn't even
that.
know. I was just I was such a pussy, and like it was like the most traumatizing experience for me, man. I remember. I'll never forget that.
Yeah, what about mom and dad? Like for you, were they harsh on you too? Was that part of
My
it?
dad was always like really emotionally distant to me. He wouldn't he wouldn't show me any affection or love, whereas my mum gave me too much. Um,
They kind of, yeah, moms kind of coddle us sometimes, right?
right. So my dad would say, "Don't talk to women; they're just going to fuck you over." My mum would say, "Don't treat women badly. You do everything for them," kind of thing. Like get into a relationship, don't fuck around.
Right. Be codependent almost.
So it was like, what, like the advice was, and my mum's advice was probably a little bit better, but still not perfect. And my
Right.
dad's
They're
advice
they're
was
they're they're opposite ends of of bad extremes. One's like you can't trust women and they're horrible, which is ridiculous because women are
yeah,
sweethearts. And then the other one is like basically be a beta male provider and sacrifice everything for them so they can walk all over you. It's like
yeah,
this sounds horrible, either one. But
yeah.
I know what they meant when they were trying to say that stuff to you, because it goes back to that point about sophistication and social sophistication. What was what was it like for you in high school? Like, did you have a girlfriend ever, or was it
I had a girl that had a crush on me just because I was a bit different and it was kind of smart, but
yeah,
I didn't even look, I didn't even look at her that way at all. And I remember she would call my mum and be like, "Can Brad come out to like hang out with me?" And I would tell my mum, "Pretend I'm not here." And this girl's like hot and shit. And I remember when I got a bit older, I was like, "Fuck, I want this girl." And then she would say, then she realized, she was like, "I used to like you, and now you don't like me, so fuck you."
right?
Basically, um, but that was, yeah. I mean, that was my experience with girls in high. There was one girl that I did like, but like, my idea of like showing her affection was not ever actually approaching her. I wrote her like this love letter and like sneaked it. I found out where she lived and put it in her letterbox. Uh, she knew it was me and just like avoided me like the plague. And I was like, why does she not want to talk to me? I'm a loser. And then it's
Funny.
like one of her like macho friends came up to me and was like, "Bro, what the fuck's wrong with you?" And he just like got really aggressive. And I'm like, oh, you know, I don't, it's fucking fucked up. But
Yeah, it's funny
nothing,
to go
nothing good at
from
school.
being so unsuccessful to becoming able to get success by being yourself, because people think when they hear just be yourself, we're not saying just be yourself like have all the shitty limiting beliefs about yourself and think that just continuing to believe that is going to make you good. What we're essentially
Mm.
saying is you have all the ingredients right now to be successful and be attractive inside yourself. Like it's there and you must bring it to the surface and understand to get out of your own way in a way. Like do you agree with that?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and so it's one of those things where even when I was younger, I had significant successes with women and significant failures. Like I had
Mm.
my first time I had sex was a threesome. I regularly had a couple threesomes even when I was a teenager, but I also had just like horrible blowouts and just was uh,
Look at you getting threesomes when you're a teenager. Fuck you, man.
yeah, I know. I know. It's because honestly, really what happened was my mind is so strong when I know when I'm confident I know something, I can believe something's good more than people can make be nervous about it and
Dude,
become comfortable.
the first time I was going to get a threesome, my brother cop blocked me. Let me tell this story. It's hilarious. There's this two girls in my bed that I met from actually approaching in cold approach without knowing I was doing cold approach. So I had like a semi-girlfriend at the time, which gave me a mini abundance to, I don't know, be a bit more of a fuckhead. So I'd like, I don't know, they were like, I would like kind of like look for low hanging fruit. So I saw this girl and she seemed a little bit low hanging fruit. And I think in the spur of the moment, I might have said some random shit. Really not probably nothing good. But like I talked to her and got a number, and then later up I met up with her and her cousin. This is her cousin, mind you. And they're like these are like, you know, rebel teenagers when I was a teenager, taking Valium and shit. And I brought them over to my parents' house on my single bed next to my brother's single bed. And they were, all three of us were in my single bed. And I guess my brother was kind of jealous. And he was like, don't do it, man. This is not good. And I was like, and one of them girls like, you know, is touching my dick and the other one's kissing me. My brother's sitting in the other single bed, not leaving the room, saying, don't do it. It's not good. Don't do it. And then I thought, yeah, he's right. I shouldn't.
He like guilt tripped you out of it.
Yeah, dude. Don't do it. He's like, dude,
Bro,
you're going to go to hell, man.
That's the worst brother prank ever.
What the fuck? And like, I reminded him about this later, and he was like, dude, you should have done it. You shouldn't have listened to me.
Yeah, of course. He was just being a jealous butthead. But so yeah, going back to college now. Are you starting to put the pieces together in college, or is this after college that you're putting these pieces together? Or
yes, really slowly putting. No, I still didn't put. Actually, no, I didn't put them together in college because I had this girlfriend, and I was like emotionally butthurt about her after we broke up for like 2 years. So I did not have the pieces together, and I might have like kissed total 3 or 4 girls in my whole years in college. That's pretty pathetic. I can't even remember how many girls I had sex with in college. Maybe one or two. And this is all our college, man. This sucks. It wasn't until the end of college when I started doing pickup and forcing myself to try things I didn't want to do, like putting myself out there, first being like, you know, trying to be more direct, which actually scares people. When I first started, I'd be like direct, like, hey, you're really sexy. I wanted to talk to you. Like, that's full on, right? That's good. You're putting your intentions out in the line, which is good for someone that's never put their intentions out in the line. But if you truly believe in yourself, you know people are going to like you. And to just put that out on the line.
You don't have to explain yourself.
Exactly. You don't have to explain you find someone sexy. It should be communicated otherwise. But I didn't know that. So, right. I mean, but for people that don't know that, they need to learn that. So it's good to do that. So I got that out of the way. But like sometimes you get lucky. And the more times you put yourself out there, the more likely you're going to get results, right? So I played the numbers game a bit, improved a bit, tried being more sexual, tried being more dominant, tried giving more eye contact, tried doing all those basic fundamental things, tried ignoring, like a guy would come in and just try to ignore him or whatever. I just tried all that stuff and it would work pretty bad, but it actually works sometimes. And when it works sometimes, that will give you fuel to keep going. And there was this one day, this girl said, I tried something new. I tried something really new and I really didn't think it was for me, but I kind of knew I had to do it because this was the way forward. There wasn't much else to work on. So I knew I had to work on this thing because I'd worked on pulling, I worked on all these things. And then now I had to work on empathy and trying to just bring it back to more of a normal level, which I couldn't do before. So I really tried that. And I had this maybe 5-minute interaction with this girl. And I guess the thing is back then, the longer I had with a girl, the worse it would go because the more she would see how weird I am because I wasn't normal. But I was practicing being normal with the pickup skills I gained. And in those 5 minutes, she just thought I was a cool, normal guy. And then she went to work and she texted me after saying, thank you for making the rest of my day so happy. I feel like if I didn't meet you, I would have had a really shitty day at work. Thank you for that. And then I met up with her and had sex with her. And it was one of the hottest girls I had up to that point. And I asked her why she, I asked about other guys cold approaching and stuff, and she would say, other guys would come up to her like very intenseful, very direct, and she kind of made her feel like it just wasn't a normal situation. It wasn't a normal thing, and it made her feel uncomfortable because it wasn't normal. And what I did obviously made her feel more comfortable. Now, it didn't work out with this girl. She thought I was a creepy fuck after because I still didn't have myself sorted. But the fact that this type of doing things actually really was like, I could see that it was going to work in the long term so much better. And if it wasn't for what she said and the feedback I got from her, I don't know what would have happened, but that really changed everything. Her saying that, she said, I think after I had sex with her, she was like, I asked her and she was like, said something like, most guys don't just come up to you like that and make you feel comfortable and normal. So I guess she just told me she kind of let go and let herself be like be more sexual and be more free in that regard. And that's why I kind of, that's the only reason I say comfort is very important, and sometimes, and for me, more important than attraction. And for guys like that might be my situation, because I always focus on attraction, and that's all it was about. So obviously I was trying to always do that, and that will always be something I'll focus on. But you have to transition onto comfort sometimes to give the girl a chance to feel free, to feel like she can do the things you want her to do, the things she wants her to do, because she doesn't feel comfortable in like it's normal situation. She'll block herself from doing it.
My
That's
only,
kind of
my only comment on that is, when you're talking about her blocking herself from doing it, is comfort and attraction are more intertwined than they are separate, and
of course,
continuum to it, right? And the benefit of separating them is for men who just don't understand one phase of those two things. It's beneficial to separate them so that you can talk to guys about attractive traits and comfort building in certain contexts that just have no perception of it. But in the reality, in the actual interaction, the way it's normally manifesting is they become comfortable with you by you being trustworthy, by you being authentic, by you being vulnerable.
Yep.
And by vulnerable, I mean showing,
by not forcing them to do anything, by like not judging them, by letting them say what they want to say, kind of stuff. But also not being, a bitch and calling out stuff when it's like not okay. I mean,
correct. You need to have boundaries, and you need to
it's a combination.
Reality.
But yeah, that's the thing. A lot of guys that focus on comfort and never tried any attraction, that do get friend zoned. They often are like, they're not setting boundaries. They're not standing up for what they believe in.
I call them harmless. They're being
the girl doesn't know they have a dick, right? Well, she does, but she doesn't really. So, like, these things need to be in harmony. But I think for a lot of the guys that came into a situation like me, that focus on going really direct, focus on putting their antenna out there, focus on trying to fuck girls nonstop, if they just pulled back and just chilled out a little bit,
yes,
they would probably get more results. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying too much more than that.
No, and it's 100% true. The biggest epiphany that I remember having in that context is I was sitting in a social situation, and I realized I didn't need to do anything but just be quiet, and the women would be attracted to me. I could just be myself, and I didn't have to react. I didn't have to try to get their attention. I could just feel that they were going to be attracted. And that's a big breakthrough when you come to understand your attraction on that level. You know when to engage them, when to say something that shows a powerful perspective, when to show you what's attractive about you, and then you don't have to do more. And in fact, sitting back and not doing more is better.
After you become an attractive person, you don't have to focus on attraction as much anymore, right? After you're an attractive person, attraction's more assumed than it ever was. Whereas I think comfort's a harder thing to assume.
Yeah, you shouldn't assume comfort, because that's how women end up feeling like pieces of meat at the end and regretting sleeping with you, even if the sex was exciting or they had orgasms. And a lot of women won't come if they don't feel emotionally engaged by you. But even if their emotional engagement with you is excitement, they usually want something more meaningful than just excitement from a guy. Occasionally, you'll get excellent friends with benefits that are fairly superficial, but usually it's better for both of you when you have that knowledge, right?
So something else that's changed for me a lot. Like, I might when I first started getting laid a lot, I was getting laid a lot, and that was cool. But this guy named Alex from the 4 Week Natural, previously RSD, he set this challenge for me. He's like, cool, you're getting laid with hot girls or whatever, but your challenge is to see one of those girls again. And I was like, I don't want to see the girls again. But then I was like, wait, is this like fun ego shit? And I thought about it, and I was like, shit, it really fucking hit me hard. So I was like, all right, I'm trying to go to, I like had to really convince this girl to see me again. And it was just like awkward as fuck. And it was just like a nightmare. The girl already fucked, met her again. It was just like not on anymore. And I was like, what the hell is wrong with me? And Alex is like, you're not being vulnerable. You just pick up conditions. The success you've had previously is what you're used to, but you're not willing to open up. You're not willing to be a normal person.
You're putting them in an attraction shotgun, spiking and just blasting, and then you're like, done with that,
but like, man, that was probably the biggest thing to realize, because without that, you can't really have a fulfilling life in the long run.
Right. And then you start getting into what John Mulvihill calls rotations. A lot of people call them rotations, but he's one of the people who really talks about that a lot. But you start having a rotation, and I used to, when I first had that, appreciate that there were different types of interactions and different roles in women's life that I could meet. Like some of them were more like some of them were my sleepover girls. Some of them were like meeting at lunchtime girls.
I have to get girls to fall in love with me or really like me to another level than other guys have to do it, because I'm traveling so much. For me to keep a girl, I have to somehow convince her in a week of getting to know her to come with me to another city and keep seeing me.
Yeah, and look, that's one of the things that you find when you start getting to the higher levels of game is you're able to change what she sees as her reality and what she thinks is possible for herself and what she thinks is normal. So now traveling with a guy who travels around and is a dating coach becomes part of her reality because you've been able to impact her reality that much.
It's pretty in itself. When I saw that was even pretty mind blowing. I mean, everything. Yeah, I mean, flight attendants are pretty good like that, but it's always still kind of casual. But they always have the opportunity to come bump into you, or girls that have like girls that are like pretty adventurous, that have some financial stability, that aren't, closed minded. They're pretty. They don't have a job that like defines them to one place all the time. They're good in that regard. Like when I was traveling around Europe, man, I was only in one city maximum 2 weeks, and there'd be girls I met, and I'm like, this would be totally a girl for a relationship for me. Guess what? I'm leaving the city in a few days. Fuck.
For sure. And when you start meeting. Well, anyways, no, I was just going to say you're exactly right. And it's one of those interesting things where I always would insist on deep connections with women as my screening. So I usually wouldn't have – it was rare for me to have a one-night stand where I wouldn't see the woman again because my own emotional neediness – I don't know if it was neediness, but my own desire for deep connection – I would force the conversations to be so deep that the chick would either be like, he's way too intense and not want to fuck me at all.
Yeah.
They didn't want to fuck me. They'd like bought into the full package and the reality and everything. So it was like perfect. And I could have the kind of relationship I wanted.
Just to give you guys an idea where I live, this is like a fucking den. I mean, look at this shit. It's a fucking den. It's a fucking den. I mean, look at that. It's a den.
Yeah. Amazing.
So like, yeah, these like girls that expect a guy to be really like high class, well put together, come over, right? And when they get here, I like to say when the girl gets to your house and you've set the frame right, she's already kind of made the decision that she's with you. So the chances of a girl opting out just because you have a small penis or because your bed was messy or because something like that are low. Because a lot of guys are like, I have a small dick, girls won't fuck me. I'm like, by the time you have your dick out, it's still do. They're not just going to be like, nope, you have a small dick. Like if the girl sees your bed, she's like, I don't like your bed. I'm not going to have sex. Like that's, if the girl's not having sex when she comes to your house, it's not because of something in your house. Maybe it's because I think the only thing I think of is you have a disgusting toilet. That can turn a girl off. Because then she's like, I'm out.
Right. Yeah, there's certain things that could be like super turnoffs, but I'll give an example from my own personal experience. I used to live in a house with my aunt when I first graduated from law school that had like no doorknob on the door. The bathroom wasn't finished. There was like a life-size Santa Claus in the living room permanently because there were Christmas decorations up, and the room was filled with her old dolls that were very creepy and sitting on a dresser.
That's not a very sexual vibe.
Yeah. And so I would just tell the girls, look, when you're sleeping over, you got to sleep next to the dolls because if they wake up, they're eating you. And that was all I said about it, and that was enough. That's
a good way to flip it. It's a good way to flip the weirdness of it because now you're like, it's a joke. So yeah, it's like, it's totally a good way. That's smart as fuck. But what I was going to say, this girl came over the other night, and it's the kind of girl that I think that was like, very interested in like hanging out with me, just being around me. And sex is just like a product of that, right? Sex isn't a goal. It's just something that happens because of what you're sharing together. So the sex happens or whatever. And then she's like, I probably won't see you again because of how messy your house is. And then I like focused on the connection with her and framed it in a way that if she didn't meet me again, she was shallow. So of course she met me again, right? But
no, that's awesome.
Yeah,
and it's funny because guys don't. The difference between intermediate and advanced is framing. The difference between like beginner and intermediate is like being able to be attractive, being able to have vulnerability. To get to really advanced levels, is framing.
Well, I think you're right, and I think that's a really big part of it. But I think obviously you're oversimplifying it. I think there's more to it than that.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
one guy might be really good at framing and suck at everything else, and that's not enough to just be advanced.
right. You're right. You're just having a strong mind isn't enough to be advanced. However, if you have a really dope frame, you might not have consistent success, but the success you have will be impressive usually.
Yeah.
It's one of those. I think it's probably the most underappreciated trait because women.
But this is the thing. What is a frame? What is a
Right.
strong frame? What kind of constitutes a strong frame? Right? Is it like is it a loud, dominant, expressive voice? Is standing up for what you believe in? Is it not taking shit from anybody? Is it being unreactive?
For me, frame is having an understanding of reality and being certain about where you're at in your life, what you're doing, what's going on, and why it's happening that way. And then being able to communicate that frame is you want to do it in a compelling way. Like you don't want to be like, bitch, no. Like it's rare to use that as a way.
I feel like being really having so much experience in your life that there's like you feel like you've seen it all, but you really haven't seen it all because there's always new stuff to experience. But having like the frame of I've seen all this shit before, it doesn't faze me, but I'm still understanding of it and going to make the best of this situation. I think that's a pretty good frame to come from.
Yeah, I love that frame. Sorry to interrupt you there. A good frame example of frame was my buddy was in Poland and he had slept with a girl. And
dude, such a fucking amazing place to pick up girls.
Yeah, I check out your videos to see for real. So he's in Poland. He slept with a girl. She's there with him. And so is a friend of his that's another female. And he'd rather sleep with her that night. So he sleeps with her. This girl gets mad and is sitting by the door waiting for a car to pick her up. And she's really upset. I told her, you're being an idiot. And she wanted to get mad more. And I said, the only reason you're upset is because you like him. I said, do you want to be a girl who can't own her feelings and is upset and just pretends that I said, he's an attractive man. Attractive men have multiple options with women. They're going to be with multiple women. You're not in a relationship with him. I said, you want to change how the world works and pretend that attractive men aren't with multiple women? Or do you want to be able to accept reality, accept the fact that you have those feelings and own it like a woman instead of being a stupid girl? And
you give the same advice to a guy.
It was a little bit more than that. You're right. And it was a little bit more than that, but I used words like stupid girl and idiot and compelling language like that to try to emotionally charge this moment where it's like, now I'm building up to where you're at an inflection point and you can own your feelings and understand the reason you're upset is because you like this man and you want to spend time with him and you want to take advantage of the time you have and own yourself, or you can go home and be upset and be miserable. And she thanked me for staying to wait for my friend to finish fucking that girl so that she could go fuck him. And said, I thought you were just an asshole, but I really appreciate you. I see how you actually care about me and wanted to break that down for me. And that's, to me, frame.
Cool. Yeah. But like, that didn't get you that girl though, bro. Okay.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, that was she was going to get him. So the frame didn't get you that girl. Like, I'm just being silly. But
oh, okay. Yeah.
I get what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that exact same thing, though, is how I view most of my getting, that's what I'm seeing is going on is like.
Yeah, it's a good frame of mind. It's like, it's a very abundance mindset. And it's not like a lot of people, when they think of abundance, they're like, I need abundance to be in abundance. You can just be a person that's in abundance without necessarily, because if you had the abundance there, it carries on a bit. And if you can totally have a mindset of abundance without having an extreme amount of abundance.
I 100% agree with you. Think about it like this. You're not as rich as you are. You're as rich as you feel, as rich as you experience. Like richness doesn't just mean wealthy, right? Like wealth is objective, but rich is a state, right? I agree.
I think people that give their money away, that's a form of abundance in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like they're not holding on to like something like that. They don't need it to be happy. They don't need something that they don't, that's, they realize that, money can only get you so far or whatever it is,
Yeah, no, I really like that.
If you're willing to like give up your girl, for your mate, cause he wants her more, or, if you're willing to like let a girl go because that whatever else she's going to do is probably better, or, that kind of stuff. That's a form of abundance as well. I
The
think.
reason that I started having orgies at my house it wasn't even really because I thought it was so interesting. It was because I wanted to make sure that my friends all got laid as well and the girls all got laid, and I wanted everybody to. And so I started orchestrating that because it was
This is something I don't do much is threesomes, but I guess if you're having a lot of threesomes, there's a form of abundance there because like I pulled this girl, you can fuck her too. That's a very strong form of abundance because it's like you're not selfish, you're not holding it to yourself. But the
yes.
thing is, the way my game works, it's so like one-on-one lone wolf, and all the people I hang out with, I teach them to be able to do that themselves and not rely on other people. So it inherently that doesn't really fit into having threesomes because when you make that happen, make that connection with someone, that just happens between
Personal.
you, right? But like every now and then, threesomes will happen with me, but it's not like something I focus on, and I don't get them anywhere as near as like a lot of other guys out there that you probably know of. It's just because I don't focus on them. I don't know. I just kind of enjoy. I say I kind of enjoy like the one-on-one time with a girl, but honestly, I probably would really enjoy the time with two girls as well. But like,
Do you want to know the biggest secret? It's
sure.
it's the way you pull two girls, the way you get two women to do it is the exact same way you get one. There's no difference. And if you treat it like you are supposed to be with both and they will both enjoy it and you believe that, they'll test the waters for a second, but deep down, most women find other women beautiful and attractive. And if you are comfortable with it in your head, look back on all the times you've done it. You were at peace with it and comfortable with it and knew it should happen. And it does.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's the secret. It's that this is normal and should be happening. And if you treat it like, because here's what's happening whether you think of it this way or not, when you're around two women, you're doing the same sexual interactions, dynamics, assessments of you are taking place. They're both deciding if you're sexually viable, even if the other girl wants you more and she's willing to let her have you. They're both deciding if you have sexual viability or not. They're both deciding if they vibe with you emotionally. They're both deciding if they find you attractive. Women are always doing that, just like men are always doing that. And so if you just understand that they're both doing that, whether one has primacy or not, or one's more close or not, you understand they're both doing that, then let's get to an environment where we can both act on the fact that you're both doing that. And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's way more simple than you think.
I guess one of the guys I hang out with here, just for a bit, he's kind of cool. His name's Justin. He focuses on orgies. So like, I think probably like an extreme amount of his lays were just because he ended up in a situation where they're just like a lot of like just say if you bring home one girl, right, or you bring home like a bunch of girls, you fuck three girls in one night. You normally didn't have to do three times the effort or whatever to get that. So it's just like there's way more. You're getting way more. I mean, this is coming from the idea that lay count matters, which it totally doesn't, right?
It doesn't. It doesn't.
So I'm not saying that just because you had an orgy, you fucked three girls in one night, that's a 3 times more result than fucking one girl, because that's complete bullshit.
It is bullshit. I think it's
that doesn't make any sense. But most of his lay count is like from orgies and shit, which blows my mind. I'm just like, so he's getting orgies as much as he's pulling one-on-ones with the girls, and to me that's like insane. But he's just like, dude, sometimes it's easier to get a threesome than it isn't to get a threesome, because the girls would just, I'll have a girl that the other girl wants, and in order for her to get the other girl, she has to fuck me.
Yeah, I mean that's
what the fuck?
It's definitely true, and that's why that's where intimacy means different things. Intimacy doesn't just mean building rapport between you and the woman. It means understanding empathetically where they're at. That intimacy is seeing where they're really at and not trying to force it. If they are connecting and vibing with you, amplify that, because that's awesome and that should happen, right? But if they're not doing that, that's my take on that. Let me ask you this, man. How did you get into coaching, bro? How did you get into like, you love this, you got good at it, it changed your life. You went from being the weird guy to being successful as hell. Now you're building intimacy with these girls. You're actually getting like rotations. You're starting to see them twice. You're not just building that hardcore attraction funnel.
I wouldn't say seeing a girl twice is a rotation, but maybe, yeah. But like
you started to build it, right?
Yeah, but that's the start of it, I guess. But yeah, I started doing that more. But when I started doing coaching, when I was like one of the better guys in my city, people would look up to me, and I didn't even want to do any coaching, but my friend was really into coaching, and he would just like force me to help him coach. He was like, "No, you're helping me." I'm like, "I don't really want to. I just want to go out and just pull some girls and not coach." He was like, nope. And he would like make a post about me doing some coaching, and I didn't even voluntarily do it. So, and it would be free, right? So he'd be like, Bradicus is doing free coaching. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, fine. And I'll just do some free coaching. And then I did that for a bit. So that gave me a little bit of like feet in the water with it. And then I went and just did heaps of shit to push myself and shared my journey, but didn't try to sell anything or force it down anyone's throat. And then some guys were just like, dude, like, I want to pay you money to just learn what you know. And I was like, really? All right, awesome. And then I just made a YouTube channel and started putting out my ideas over time. And I realized that people kind of voluntarily wanted to do coaching with me. So then I decided to just make it a tiny bit more professional and offer it officially.
Yeah.
It's kind of how it happened, honestly.
Well,
I mean, also this guy named Alex, I didn't ask anyone to be their coach, but this guy named Alex asked me to coach for him. I didn't even know it was coming. And honestly, I was gonna make my own channel and do this stuff no matter what. And I didn't see being a coach for someone else seriously, because the way I run game, right? I run game like in a one-on-one fashion. The way I meet women, right? I don't use a team to meet women. It's just me, right? So when I'm thinking about in a business sense, it kind of was the same thing. I never could see myself being in this team of other coaches, and it worked forever. It worked. It was pretty good while it lasted, but then I always knew that what I was going to do was what I wanted to do and unique to that. And there were going to be like some, differences in ideas, and the effort I put in would equally go to everyone. And when I felt like I wanted that effort to be my reward, that eventually, changed things.
Well, coaching is a very personal thing. There's just no way around it. If you're doing it right, it's personal to you and the people you're coaching. And
it's not like, and it's not just the coaching. It's like the ideas I put out there on YouTube, the infield I do, what that represents for me, the passion I have. And when someone else doesn't have that, I'm like, when someone else in the team doesn't have that, I'm like, this isn't my brand. This is someone else's brand. And what I'm representing is a unique brand in that brand. I want it to be mine. You know what I mean?
Success or failure, you never want it to be because you didn't work hard enough and you didn't make the sacrifices to make it possible. And when other people are on a team and they're not doing that, it's not acceptable. To me, that's a boundary issue. No hard feelings to anybody. Everybody has different wavelengths and different ways they want to approach things. But
totally,
if I'm here, let's do it. Life is short. So
right on.
How much did you take to this at first? Was it natural for you to be coaching guys because of the journey you'd been through? You were able to just, when I first started coaching guys like over 3 years ago, I wasn't even coaching them well. I was telling them to go direct, and I was telling them to do things now I'd tell them not to do, which is fucking funny as fuck. But I wasn't charging maximum $20, right, for a few hours. So I wasn't really charging money. So I don't feel guilty about it. And it kind of did help them just get their feet in the water. But like I didn't want to charge money when I didn't feel like I had it completely sorted myself. It wasn't until I felt like I had so many breakthroughs that allowed people to be drawn towards me naturally, and women to want to on their own accord come back and hang out with me and spend more time with me, until that was like really happening. And I didn't feel like there was too many problems. Then that's the time I needed to like start, being real about like the coaching with the prices and all that. But now this has all happened. I'm able to like travel not basically anywhere I want in the entire world, anywhere. I could go to Africa if I wanted and sustain this, and make a bit of money to live. What is it that you are
and coach
charging
and
now
do pickup
for people? Do you have different packages that you offer? Can people contact you and get coaching now?
Yeah, they can. So one-on-one Skype coaching per hour, that's $120. If you want a boot camp, that's 3 or 4 days, depending on the amount of time. And if you want infield breakdown, that's between $1,500 and $1,900 for the boot camp. And for immersion, I do one-on-one and maybe sometimes like a bunch of people, depending if I can get that in a certain city. And that's anywhere from 2 weeks to 4 weeks, between the prices of $2,500 to $3,500.
Right.
This US.
Yeah, and these are prices that to some guys might say that sounds expensive, but at the same time, I always say on this channel, it will change. It's both expensive and undercosted significantly because it will change your life. The value you get from a month of immersion changes the next 80 years of your life. So yes, it's an investment, but
man, I've paid for these in the past, and the only way I could fund it was like, working my ass off, or I even sometimes did clinical trials where I donate my body to make the money. And even if I wasn't a coach now, to make that, return on investment for coaching now, the experience was worth it. Cause like, even if it makes you a little bit of a better man, that's for 40 or 50 years is an unbelievable amount of change in your life. You just have to make sure you carry it on. Like maybe in
but to
like,
have someone show you the way, because it's
maybe
so
in a
hard
few
to go
weeks,
find.
right?
Sorry,
Maybe in a few weeks, the return on investment isn't there yet. But if you carry it on through for a prolonged period of time, it's an extreme return on investment, right? Extreme. Mm.
once you know that these things are possible, once you start seeing that you can let go of limiting beliefs, once you start breaking down barriers, once you start getting real confidence and understand the method behind that, once you start getting success with women and see the mystery behind it is gone. Now you understand what it takes. Now you know how to do it. Like you said, 40 or 50 years where it's not just improving your relationships with women, is it? It's improving your relationship with yourself, your relationship with your friends, your ability to do work better in other contexts. I mean, don't you see this as being more than just male female dynamics?
Yeah, dude, it's opened my mind up to doing more stuff. Uh, like what I'm doing right now is kind of a business, but I don't really treat it as a business. I treat it as like a life thing. But like, it's opened my mind up to wanting to travel and meet new people and experience new cultures. And that in tune has done other things. Like it's like uh, one thing will lead you to this, and this point here will lead you to three different things, and then all spiral off. And there's so many things that will happen as a result, right? I can't say exactly. Like, I guess if one person does something for you and that does that for you, and then this does like all these things, and one of those things makes you $1 million, can I take credit for you making that $1 million? No, but like in some way that wouldn't have happened otherwise, or maybe in a different circumstance you would have done it anyway. But like,
No,
no
I know.
matter
I like to.
where you go in life, you're going to have to invest in yourself and do something that pushes yourself. You're going to have to try something new and put something out in the line. And money's just an opportunity to do that, like anything else. I mean, but like, and otherwise, what are you going to do with your money? Because so many people save their money and like, I'm not going to waste my money. I'm going to spend it on something good. What are you going to buy? What are you going to do? Buy a car? Buy a TV? Buy a couch? What the hell does that bring you? What does a new couch or a new TV bring you? What value does that bring your life? It just gives you more of a chance to sit home and do nothing, you know? Like,
Yeah, change your life instead. It's
I wouldn't trade the experiences I had for a house. For a $500,000 house or $1 million house, wouldn't even exchange it for that. And people think I'm crazy, but I wouldn't, because I know in the future, this is going to pay off way more than that.
yeah. Well, you actually will have freedom and happiness and know why you made your decisions in life. Whereas I know plenty of wealthy people who are not happy people. They should be, and they're not. And the money didn't buy the happiness, and the sacrifice. The juice wasn't worth the squeeze sometimes when they for that.
The juice wasn't worth the squeeze.
So, all right, let's talk about some transformations that you've seen in guys that you. Well, actually, let's circle back because you said something earlier. When you became a man who was actually attractive, now you could put a price to this because you understood the full picture of what's going on. You could start to help men become that attractive version of themselves, that person who loves himself, who has confidence, who can start to have abundance. How did you go about formalizing that instruction? Do you personalize it to each individual? Do you have a system in place that you go through with them?
There's both. There's a system, but the system isn't super specific, because if it's super specific, it's at the expense of it being personal to people, because they need some people need something personal. So the system is generic enough so it can be useful to everyone, and the specific stuff is normally very internal or very specific things they need to do in their game that wouldn't be part of the general stuff that I teach. So one guy just in London the other week, I would never teach this generically because it's not useful for most people, but he's I would say he's somewhere from the Middle East, maybe Turkey, or whatever country he's from. And it's like he never really approached he didn't interact with women ever, and it's a different culture. And now he's just gotten to a Western country. He doesn't know how to treat women and stuff, but he's really nice and he's a cool person. But when he talks to girls, he literally subconsciously follows them. So when the girl goes to walk off, he just walks towards them, and he doesn't know he's doing it. Or like when a girl tries to escape, his instinct reaction is to stop her from trying to escape. But he's not a bad person. It's just what he does. And if I taught this, it's not what you should teach, right? You don't teach people to not do that. But it's something that I know how to like address and help guys overcome when I need to, right? But it's not something that's just a part of what I do. It's not useful enough to everyone in whole to just talk about to everyone. But that's totally an example of something where I had to address something very specific that really was helpful for him. Because if he didn't do that, if he didn't make this correction, it would really hurt him in the long run. It could give people the wrong idea. It could even, in an extreme example, make the girl think that he's going to do something very ill-intentioned, which he doesn't have bad intentions. And it could, to an outside perspective, make it look like he's like trying to hurt her or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it totally needs to be corrected. That's just an instance, but like the generic thing, it's just guys that need to get over like the just literally, first of all, just doing it, getting over the idea that it's okay to actually approach people, and then allowing them to put what they have already the best out there to the other person, showing them ways to express themselves, showing them that it's possible, and then inspiring them to find new ways and new ideas to make it even better. And there's a structure about it. There's you approach, I show them how they can use empathy and understand empathy to make the girl feel comfortable, so she's willing to talk to them. There's no use if the girl just walks off, right? You don't get a chance to talk to her. I show them how to provide enough interest at the start for the girl to want to talk to them. So you first, to have an interaction, the girl needs to know you exist. She needs your attention, and she needs to, in some way, understand what's going on. Have some kind of, it needs to be somewhat relevant to her, all those kind of things, so she can stop and listen to what you have to say to give you a chance. And then at some point, you need to let her make a decision to stay with you, because a lot of the time, a girl will be standing there just because you're like making her stand there. But if you allow the girl to make a decision to continue staying with you, it becomes more us, more we, more togetherness kind of frame. And then I talk about ways to have conversation with a girl to keep her like interested, things you can talk about, the type of conversations you can have that relate to specific types of girls, because everyone's different. Some people get bored in set, so even in set, if you don't keep yourself entertained, you're not going to inspire the other person to have fun. So being able to be in the emotional presence in which you want the girl to be as well, and how to keep it sustainable, and then not get friend zoned and all that kind of thing. Show interest in a unique way that's lots of the time about her personality and about the vibe that's happening, and able to be a man, lead it forward in a way that's not forcing anything upon the other person, being able to make it a win-win, to go off and do something with that person rather than use them. It's good to use the girl as an experience at first, but you ultimately want it to be an experience of both of you. And then then there's the whole thing about the date and or how to deal with the text game and all that. You know the process. I can talk about that, but I do have the structure that I talk about.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where guys come to understand that it's normal to invite a woman that they've met and talk to for a little bit home with them, and that's normal for both of you and something that can be good for both of you. And that's not like an insane goal that you have to stress over, that's just normal when you like each other, that you should be asking them to come home with you, or at least say, listen, I'm heading home. You want to come over and have a drink? It can be as simple as that,
Yeah, you can just say that. often there's the whole thing about if you tell the girl she's coming to your house, even if she doesn't, she won't say yes, because saying yes is um, indirectly saying I'm agreeing to come have sex with you, and a girl doesn't want to agree to come have sex with you, even if she does. So you kind of have to give her an excuse to come over. Like, you want to eat, right? You want to cook. You want to show me your cooking skills. Well, I've got this awesome kitchen at my house. We can use that. Now you're using it in the kitchen. You're not going to your house necessarily. That's not the pretense anymore. So it's like, I guess it's about the premise of what you're doing, and it has to be about something that we call it plausible deniability all the time. The girl has to be able to say to herself, and if someone asks her, what were you doing? And she can't say, I don't know, I was just going to his house. It has to be something more than it has to be like, well, you're going to do something there that seems a bit more like something else, more innocent, or like you're doing an activity that wasn't just that, right? It could just be simple as watching a movie or looking at a view on your fucking balcony or whatever,
Well, this is where your expertise in code approach exceeds mine, because while I have a ton of, when I say a ton, okay, I had about 80-ish, whatever, mostly day game closes. And those were all setups on dates, so none of them were same day. And other than that, it's all been text and setting up dates through Tinder and Bumble and things like that. And or going out, getting a number and setting up a date.
You never said Tinder. Because I've never banged a girl from Bumble, but I've banged a shit ton through Tinder. I find Bumble trash, but I think Tinder's amazing.
I think both are amazing, but Tinder has actually gotten worse for me lately.
Bumble doesn't work. I haven't paid for Bumble, that's why, and I pay for Tinder. But I find that Bumble has gotten me nothing. Happens even worse. It's
Put
like
yourself in a suit.
In a suit?
Yeah, call yourself a dating coach and put yourself in a suit. You'll be fine.
My Tinder pictures are pretty good, by the way.
We'll talk about. You can show me off air. We can compare notes if you want. Because I think I'm pretty world class when it comes to online
Tinder.
Game. Yeah.
Well, maybe it may. I only started online game in April this year, and I really have no idea how many girls I've had sex with, but I will have to say 20. It could be like over 60 girls from Tinder, just from Tinder.
That's amazing.
Since April, right? And I've had a lot from night game and day game too. So, I mean, I just looked at my Tinder profile and look, I've got 12 likes here. Can you see that?
Yeah.
I've got 12 likes to sort through, and I only checked this a few hours ago. So my Tinder profile must be pretty good. And I'm in Toronto. It's not Thailand, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So there's my first picture. So second, this one, girls always ask about this picture here. Why do you have a falcon? Why do you have a fucking falcon, Brad? Fucking eagle. Yeah. Whatever. Tinder profile. That works really well. But like the model type girls or the really like 9, 10 girls, I'm not going to get on Tinder. I have to go and find them in day game. Yeah. I have to really offer them that unique personality that I have in day game, and Tinder I don't really get a chance to talk to them, but I'll get heaps of chances with 7s and 7.5s and 8s even on Tinder. And anyone that's below that, I kind of just don't swipe on. I'll just say no to.
Yeah, that sounds like, every now and then you get a really beautiful one.
Really rare to get a 9 or 10 on Tinder. I don't think. Yeah, I mean, it might have been like once, but from day game, it's way more common.
Yeah, it's easier because you can just walk up to the prettiest woman and.
But like the 9 and the 10 on Tinder, dude, they don't just get like 100 guys liking them every day. They get like 100 super likes from guys every day. You know what I mean?
I bet it's more than 100.
Insane.
I bet it's more than 100.
100. Dude, it's
crazy.
It's more than you can fathom. You could not, even if you spent your whole day following up all these leads, you couldn't.
Yeah, it's insane.
So no wonder we don't match with them, but yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten over a handful throughout the years, but you're right. It is mostly, that 8 range that you're going to kind of top out at with.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm not a super good looking guy, so that's a little bit of a handicap for Tinder in particular. But you can always make yourself look fucking awesome in photos. And the thing is, if you make yourself look really awesome in photos, you think, oh, the girl would be like, you're not the same person. I've only had maybe 2 times, like I look heaps better in my photos. I've only had 2 times with a girl or 3 times with the girl's like, you don't look the same as your photos. And she kind of looked a bit bummed out about it. But more times the girl's like, you're actually better in person than your photos, because even if you don't look as attractive in person, when a girl feels your energy and that you're fucking awesome and you have your shit sorted, they just feel they just think you're more attractive, even if you aren't, because girls are more find you more attractive when they have that, the energy or whatever.
How you make them feel is what
Yeah,
they find
you
attractive.
feel right. There you go. That's right.
And the pictures, even if it's somewhat arousing and they think like, oh, I would fuck him, that feeling is a very minor feeling inside a woman relative to, now that feeling will grow significantly, right? But it initially just on visual appearance, they are used to having a feeling of attraction and then containing that. When they're hanging out with you in person and you're bringing out their emotions, first of all, they're not trying to suppress them. Second of all, they're not used to having those feelings in person from men. Men don't make them feel those feelings. High value men do, but they're very rare. And they don't normally get to spend much time with high value men. Less time than they wish. Women are regularly dissatisfied with their emotional and sexual lives because the men that they seem to find attractive, usually men for them are just using them for sex, which isn't very satisfying, or the really nice guys who are harmless and basically liars,
Yes, two polarities here.
Yeah, and neither of them are good. Like, never talk to women and trust them, and do whatever you should for a woman, like your advice from your parents. These are both.
Yeah, my parents represent those two sides of society.
But
my dad's basically an invisible MGTOW, but he doesn't know it. He doesn't know what it is, but he's like an MGTOW at heart.
I know. I feel so bad for that community, because my experience, once I got pretty skilled with women, I just say pretty skilled, like once I started being able to show my emotions and have connections, women were like almost always just sweet and supportive and kind and fun. I almost never had drama anymore. It was like, all right, cool. This doesn't work for us. Cool. Like, it was just I don't remember the last time I was in a fight with a woman. It's been years, because there's I'll say whether I think her feelings in the moment are valid or not. When I say why I think it's valid.
I've totally gotten arguments with girls.
Really? Are you picking fights?
Not
like, you do a different.
It's not logical. It's not logical, like picking fights, but it's like I mean, how do I get in arguments with girls? I mean, normally when I'm in a relationship and it's like something dumb, like I just can't be fucked, and the girl's just pissed off. I don't know, something dumb. I'm trying to think of the girls, like seeing for a while. What kind of arguments did we have? Yeah, I don't know. We had some.
There are some situations where women could be rude or shitty to you and unnecessarily, but I mean, a lot of that stuff.
I wouldn't make that an argument, though.
That's what I was just about to say. You have the choice to how to react to that. So usually when people give you a reaction, are people that you care enough about that they have some degree of influence over your emotions. I don't try to give any power over my emotions to a stranger ever. I think that's a kind of weakness.
I think that's good, man. But sometimes, if you do have an argument with someone and it's like sometimes, I mean, I don't think arguments are necessary, but sometimes you do need, if you're with someone and the way they are being affects you, sometimes you need to like just smash it into their face.
Yes, you do. You absolutely have to set it down. Like one time I had a girl over cooking for me, and I had two other girls that were at the house as well. And they were all there obviously to sleep with me. And the girl who was cooking started getting jealous because she wasn't getting as much attention as she wanted. And I took her outside and let her know, you're choosing to be here. And if you're going to choose to be here, you're going to be happy about being here, or you can leave. We don't have to continue to have this interaction. So you need to own the fact that you're here and be happy and be grateful that we're spending time together, because I do care about you and I'm spending time with you. And this is what's happening tonight. And I want you to be here. But if you're going to be here, you need to own that. So that could be an argument. You're
a very honest person, Thomas.
What do you mean?
You're a very honest person. That's very honest.
Yeah.
Even I'm not that honest. I probably would just do it a different way, but I think the way he did it is probably better.
Yeah. Well, the way I look at it is like, pimping is the truth is the best pimping. How can anyone give you any kind of grief for saying how it really is? This is how it really is. And you got to respect me for it. Even if you don't like it, you don't have to like it. You can leave, but but you have to respect the fact that I'm telling you how it is. And, anyways, so that to me is a good example of that. Sounds like you just got some Tinder matches. You want to call it, man? It's been a while, bro. We've been talking for a while.
Oh yeah, dude. This girl I went on a date with just messaged me about my channel.
By the way,
um,
speaking of which, I think telling women about you being a dating coach is something that they'll find attractive. It's something that I assume you tell them.
it depends. I tell a lot of the girls. I'm telling more lately, but sometimes telling them too soon can make them, because a lot of girls will say to themselves, "I'm." Even if they like you, they're like, "I'm going to prove to myself I'm not that type of girl that
Right.
would fall for a guy like that," right? And then they will just like kind of block themselves off. But if they're already like if they've already reached that point where like they're quite hooked, you can tell them and it won't make a difference. But if you make the mistake of telling them before they're like very hooked, you can lose them. You know what I
One of the
mean?
ways I use it as a metaphor for my emotional awareness. I let them know that I have sexual prowess. I'm a sexual man. I have sexual relationships with women, and I don't try to hide that. But I
Mhm.
use the dating coach as a way to explain emotions, not
So you
sexual
say dating
conflict.
coach, but on my channel, it comes across as a pretty crazy type of dating coach with, 80 makeouts in one video, pulling girls on hidden Infield camera. The girl sees this. She may see it a little bit in a more of a negative light than
Right.
dating
Could be
coach.
a fuck boy a little bit, right? But
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I need
you're
to get
right.
a bit more investment on her behalf before I drop the bomb.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that's exactly right. Man, thank you for being here, and I would love to do this again sometime. The time really flew, and I need to
No
get me another
problem.
computer.
So maybe I can download this video as well.
Yeah, I'll send it to you for sure, brother. Good having you.
Legend.
We'll talk
Nice
soon.
doing this video with you too. Good
All right.
stuff.
Bye.
Peace out, bro.
Good shit.